Destruction Derby 2 is one of those games that looks so different from the original that it could easily have been mistaken of being a part of a completely different franchise. There's good reason for this too. From insanely aggressive AI to crash physics never seen before, Destruction Derby 2 showed the world how chaos can really reign when given the right tools. It was developed by Reflections and published by everyone's favourite Scouse gaming giant, Psygnosis. Then released in 1996 on the PlayStation and the PC. Now, I would like to make it clear at this point that I absolutely loved playing the first game, but after playing Destruction Derby 2, the first game just feels, well, pretty basic in comparison. There is good reason for this though. When the developers were tasked with creating the first game, they had to do so on a strict deadline, meaning the whole game was developed in just 7 months. This resulted in a lot of awesome ideas not making it to the final game. Despite this, a lot of people, from the UK at least, who have played both games actually prefer the first one. I think this is because the first game is heavily flavoured with a British banger racing vibe to it, whereas Destruction Derby 2 has been developed to appeal more towards an American audience. This is particularly evident when taking a look at the cars featured in the game. They're all based on Ford Thunderbird NASCARs from 1995. There are 3 cars for the player to choose from, and they've all been named based on their difficulty. Rookie is the slowest of the 3 but has the most grip. Amateur is, as you can imagine, pretty balanced, and Pro is the fastest of the 3, but if you're not careful, it can handle like a shopping cart, particularly when veering off the track. Now, on the subject of difficulty, this game is tough, and I mean really tough. A lot of critics moaned about the original game being too easy, and it's fair to say the developers took their feedback on board. Well, I say that, they may have even taken it to heart, because there are so many obstacles in this game that are there to stop you, the awesome stock car driver, from winning. The most obvious of which are the other drivers. In Destruction Derby 2, they have been programmed to be a ton more aggressive compared to how they were in the first game. This is particularly evident when trying to survive in total destruction mode. It can feel like 19 of the Nelsons you're up against are working together to bully your Ralph into submission. And with that, they don't make it any easier when you're out on the track either. Rather than being up against 19 Nelsons, you're now up against 19 super aggressive Michael Schumachers. If the aim of Wrecking Racing mode is to accumulate as many points as possible, we'll touch on that shortly by the way, it would be nice if our little Ralph could catch up with Michael in the first place. Speaking of catching up, remember to give the subscribe button a tap if you don't want to be left behind when a shiny new retro SamBam video gets released. It could be about a game that you've completely forgotten how much you loved. Now, there are 3 game modes for the player to choose from: Stock Car, Wrecking Racing and Destruction Derby. Stock Car is okay, it's DD2's answer to normal circuit racing. The real action, however, is in Wrecking Racing and Destruction Derby. In these 2 modes, you're awarded points for smashing the life out of your opponents. Wrecking Racing has a championship which runs across all 7 of the game's tracks over a few seasons. As mentioned earlier, the game is really tough, so when you, the awesome stock car racer, do manage to make it to the end, your hard valiant efforts are awarded with the winning sequence, which is really just the game's credits. I guess it's all about the journey in Destruction Derby 2. When I first started playing Wrecking Racing for this video, I completely forgot that the objective is to smash into other cars to get points. I was blissfully cruising along, happy being ahead of all the other drivers, thinking I was in first place. This right here though, this is completely irrelevant. The real scoring is calculated over here, and the car who really has the lead will have the most points on this counter. Destruction Derby mode also uses this method of scoring, well, in its practice session at least, and it can be pretty unforgiving more often than not, to say the least. The player is awarded points when they spin an opponent's car, and the bigger the spin, the more points awarded. Given that your Ralph is up against either a load of Nelsons or a load of Michaels, this is easier said than done. The idea is to find the right balance of using enough force to spin your opponent out, whilst causing minimal damage to your own car. Amongst all of the chaos, this is a skill that may take some time to acquire. If you're not a particularly patient person though, you could have a go at a couple of lateral thinking techniques. I tried a couple of cheeky manoeuvres to get one over on the system, but they both failed. The first of which was, well, I tried to bully an upside down car, thinking it would get me loads of free points. Unfortunately for me though, the game doesn't suffer bullies, and all I ended up doing was ruining my own car. It also turns out that smashing into an upside down car, even at the best of times, will still get you nil points. I guess that would have been far too convenient. The other cheeky manoeuvre I tried is a little less cheaty and a bit more out the box thinky. Well, I think at least. And it was done on Destruction Derby mode, Total Destruction. When the game begins, you're supposed to race to the middle with all the other cars and smash into each other in a huge display of chaos. Well, I chose to go against the grain on this occasion. I decided to hold back and let those losers smash each other's cars in, with the hope of leaving my car free from receiving that initial and unnecessary damage. Yeah, that didn't work out too well either. The car got rolled over immediately and ended up losing both of its wheels. What was happening was a fine example of the new damage engine working its magic. The damage engine was completely rewritten for Destruction Derby 2, giving the cars better crash physics and the ability to simply crumble like mine did just then. For a laugh, I decided to see what the game would be like with the invincibility cheat on. It honestly offers a whole new level of fun because now there were no consequences. Unless you ended up down in this pit, of course. The feeling of smashing into other cars without having to worry about ruining your own car and ending the level after mere seconds really worked well as a de-stressor. There's something incredibly satisfying about being able to switch off and just mindlessly smash into other cars. So, with its new styling, increased difficulty, and bespoke new damage engine, Destruction Derby 2 pushed boundaries and offered players an incredibly fun and chaotic way to experience what it felt like to be a stock car driver, albeit virtually. In my humble opinion, it completely overshadowed the first game and proved, in this series at least, that second is best. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you want to see more nostalgic content like this. If you have any games that you want me to make a video of, mention them in the comments and I'll add them to my list. Thanks again, hopefully see you in the next video.